Outer Orange.
Привет! Welcome back, and the ban list is here. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like. I'll give you guys my thoughts, what I think is good or bad about this ban list, and we'll just kind of go from there. I haven't actually seen it yet either, so I'm actually pretty excited to see sort of what this ended up looking like and how the English format's gonna look like. As I personally expected, I actually thought I did some predictions with a friend of mine. And the first thing I said was standard was gonna have no changes, which is precisely what we saw here, which I think is fine. I think we'll see a lot more adjustments going into the next upcoming ban list. So once we have a little bit more results, a little bit more time, we'll probably start seeing the Jet and the Ava stuff getting hit. Fun fact, English meta tends to be a little different from JP anyway, and we're already seeing that in the Springfest results. Like, it is actually kind of crazy just how much people are trying to play around the concept of Jet and Ava, me being one of them actually. But just a good example, Chaos alone is a perfect example of people trying to play around. Recently there was a first place topper who got first place in with Chaos with his two other teammates, and a lot of people are like, wait, he probably got carried. He actually did not. He actually performed pretty well on his own. I personally interviewed him, so I know exactly what he did, and I also know how much of a good player this person is. So to be honest, I'm not too surprised to see the results the way they are, and he purposely built Chaos in a way where it dealt with Jet and Ava type stuff. So honestly, I think we'll be fine for the next couple months, though I will say I am not a big fan of the current set 8 meta that we just got out of, and I hope that set 9 will be a little bit more fun and interesting. I know you're looking at me like, talk about the V stuff, because it's right there in front of us, right? So in terms of V, I actually think this is a pretty decently good ban list. So just to start off, Meep got unrestricted from 1 to 4 copies. If you don't know what Meep is, it is a card for Melody, and she is used for Melody, and it pretty much put Melody back at full power. And what does that mean for us? I actually think this deck will start showing results, because the time when this deck was unrestricted, during a time where Prism was still in meta, and a couple other strong decks were kind of still potent, like Gurgit and all that other kind of stuff. So it was really hard for Melody to shine through. And even though it was really popular in Japan, it was so much less popular here in like the English side of things. Like, nobody really played this deck except for a couple people here and there. But I think in the current meta that we're going into, Melody will actually show some good results. It is still a Hyrule deck, so still has that Hyrule-esque-ness behind it, where it really needs to see like a grade 1 and kind of not G-assist. You will have like those random games where you'll just kind of lose because you can't find stuff in time. But the minute this deck finds stuff, it's actually insanely strong. I will tell you right now, we're pretty much looking at a OuterOrange and Davos meta now. And if it's not Davos, it'll be something like Night Rose or something. Pretty much any deck that was right below like OuterOrange and Steam Maidens, that deck will be now taking up that slot. Leopold is another good example. That deck will start shining more. We did not see any changes to golds, by the way, in this list. We'll talk about Johanna here in a second, but we're not seeing any changes to golds. So Agloville's still active, and just something to note, with the new promo that recently came out for gold, it's some kind of effect where you discard a card like a top 3 call card. It's also on Guard Circle. So it's a mini Gurgit skill on top of Gurgit's skill. So I'm just gonna be real with y'all. I actually think that deck's like pretty decent. I could be like hoping like crazy, but FYI, Gurgit doesn't need a hand to kind of do its thing. Like, they can start a turn handless and still be fine. Very similar to how Steam Maidens functions. So that being said, because they can function without a hand, it's another reason why I actually think that Gurgit's actually pretty good of a deck. You do want the Hyrule engine with the whole Holy Shrine thing, and yes, I know Percival's gone, but do not sleep on Gurgit. Gurgit is still relatively strong. Johanna got completely restricted. I actually thought she was going to go to 1, but she's gone. So this is Steam Maidens Johanna. If you don't know, or if you haven't been playing V, and Steam Maidens has been one of the strongest decks in the format ever since the Johanna drop happened with Earcat and a couple other cards. Pretty much Steam Maidens has just been performing insanely well. It's just been an out of control deck for a while, especially when the Colossus was still active. This deck was just a monster. They banned the Colossus, and then the deck was still performing. It was still performing well enough to where it was still seeing results like in like the top 8 type of area. I would say the deck was like a lot less potent, but it was still annoying to the point where if you're not playing the best deck, you're just not really winning. It was either you're playing the best deck, which is another deck like Maidens, which is Lord and Anj, or you're playing decks that can blow it out of the water really fast, or you just lose to it if you're playing playing not meta decks essentially. So if you're playing like lower tier decks that can't blow you out or just can't compete with it, you would just lose. So pretty much anything below like tier 2 and on, like I think tier 1 and tier 2 were kind of okay. Like if you're playing like Jewel Knights or Leopold or whatever, there's like still hope. But anything below that, like if you're playing against a Steam Maiden player, it's kind of just it's just an L. Like you're just gonna lose. There's nothing you can do that your deck that you can do against Maidens that your deck will do better. It's just how it was. Now it's gone. So with this is in my opinion, this is a nuke. Some people may think that the cat will be enough to carry the deck, or they think the cat was the problem or whatever. I think this is a nuke. This is one less target to search for in the deck. This is one less attacker in the deck. You can run like the weird stuff, yeah, but it's gonna make your cat miss more too, because it's just, like I said, it's one less target. You can run like Inglisa or whatever. That's a grade 3. There are some like random Steam Maiden grade 2s out there, but they're not very good. And there's nothing that clearly like that lets you like bind as fast as this card lets you bind as quickly. You can, like I said, go the grade 3 route. You can go the high roll approach now. You can just like kind of like go crazy with the grade 3 dragon, all that kind of stuff. But that's pretty much how Steam Maidens used to play. If you guys don't know, Steam Maidens used to be a thing too, but no one was really playing it because it was super high rolling and sacky. And that's pretty much how it used to be. You used to just run the grade 3 package. You pretty much played MFD, but without MFD. Like if the whole point of the deck was you just try to bind as fast as possible, so that way you can find your pieces as fast as possible, yada yada yada. Now it's slightly more consistent because you'll have Gear Cat to kind of help you find your pieces faster, but ideally you'll be doing the same thing. You're gonna call the dragons, you're gonna bind them away, you're gonna look at top 3, buy 2, call 1, whatever, and you're just gonna spam that until you have a decent bind zone, then you're gonna go in, right? But I think the consistency and everything that had is gone. I do think it kind of it hurt the other decks a little bit too that were running this engine, and I think that I really wanted Entrahana to stay in other decks, and I wanted it to go specifically in Maidens because the package itself is just fun to use in other Gear Chronicle decks. It's kind of like you have to run them, but it was just nice to have that access because, you know, they're good cards, right? So losing good cards in the other decks kind of sucks. Like it makes MFD less good, but whatever. There's other cards you can play in MFD. You don't really need the Entrahana Gear Cat package, but it was just nice to have. But anyway, so that's that. I think overall these changes are good, but they don't change too much. We're still going to see like the same the two best decks pretty much do well. And like I said, I did mention the promos. We are getting promos monthly, the clan specific promos, the grade 2s that do like they all have the same like one skill, and but they have a different secondary skill, and we are going to see those come up, and that is going to shift our meta just a little bit, not by much, but it's going to shift it a little bit. And I think with the shift, we are going to see like a couple adjustments here for the third deck that you want to take. And like I said, the melody thing I think will also affect some decks, but overall the meta is going to be pretty much the same. It's not going to change much. I've been saying this for a while. I think I've been saying this for 2 years now, maybe even 3. You can ban like, you know, like so many cards in V, but the meta recently, like at least the last like 3 years of the meta, isn't going to change that much. We have pretty much been seeing the same decks in circulation for so long, and even if we nuke everything, then we're going to see old decks that we saw before in circulation. I know that's kind of what people want. I don't disagree. It's nice to just have some kind of shift, but I will say I feel like people are just never going to be happy, and at least in V, people aren't really going to be happy because they're going to be like, oh my god, this got banned, but god, this other deck is so unfair. Oh my god, it's always going to be something because of just how power crept V got. And I bring this up a lot because I think people just really need to understand that like nuking one deck isn't going to make you feel better. And I'm just going to be that guy. I'll just tell you how it is. Because I've just adjusted to it. I've just accepted that's just how it is. Like he is just kind of, for the most part, there's like 90% of it that's like pretty much solved, and then there's like that 10% that shifts every time a ban list happens, and that's it. Like that's the rotation, and it kind of sucks. And it's either you nuke a lot of stuff to kind of make it really interesting, or you print more cards, right? There's only really 2 routes around this, or you know, like I don't know what else you would do, or you print better defensive cards for the clans to kind of give people more options to run in their decks to counter pick meta, right? Because V is so like solved and there's really not much to counterpick. There really isn't much to counterpick. Like I think that's the biggest issue V is having right now. It's so much that you can't counter the best decks in any way possible. The only thing you can do is just play the best deck or play decks that can kind of high roll out, right? But that's not really counterpicking. That's just you trying to do your best to play against the deck. Like V has this issue that premium and D don't as much, and it kind of sucks. So just letting you know. Anyway, long rant, but I'm done. Premium already had some restrictions from Japan, so like obviously our restriction list is gonna look a little smaller. So there's that. But regardless, so first we had the Inglisa restriction, which means pretty much kind of quote unquote killed Steam Maiden's deck and premium. Some people are saying like, oh, you can still run Jet and all this other stuff. I don't really know. I'm not really like a Gear Chronicle main in premium. I don't know all the ropes. I have the deck, but I even in BSF I didn't compete with it because I just don't know anywhere near as much information about it as other people do. So I'm gonna just leave it for the Gear Chronicle experts to tell me when the world is going on in there. And then we got the Spangled restriction that happened, which I'm sure Maxime Solom is making a part 2 video now of his sad train of, okay, it's official, guys. I can go cry in my corner now. That was actually a really good video. Y'all should go check that out. It's a good one. But anyway, so Spangled got restricted. Some people obviously aren't too happy about this, especially the Great Nature folks, since it's not like that crazy of a restriction. I faced this actually at BSF, and I watched it happen, and I was like, oh, so that's what this card does. I'm not even gonna lie, that was my exact reaction. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of annoying. Because I was just trying to kill, and I just couldn't. The man survived so long. He still died, but man, he survived a long time. And Spangled goes crazy. But anyway, I don't know if it should have been restricted. It probably could have been like 1-2 copies. I don't know. I don't play Great Nature Premium either. So you know, I'll just let the Great Nature folks make their beautiful music videos and cry and whatever else that they're doing in sadness. Personally, I actually never thought Q-Tire was really harmful. I know a lot of people think Q-Tire is like the worst card in the world and it's just so broken and blah 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 blah, but both in V and in Premium, I actually think this card at 1 is fine. I don't think it's really doing much. It's just a random high roll Saki kind of card, and it's not even that it's like high roll Saki, it just kind of completes the deck it's meant for, which is Highlander, and it should just stay in there. You can play Highlander, normal Highlander, without Highlander being broken with Q-Tire in it and having other stuff getting restricted, and it would actually be better in my opinion. And like I said, the same thing I say for V. I know a lot of people don't like Orange, Q-Tire, whatever, but it's just a brick. It's a Saki brick. And you could also just restrict it to Orange if it's really that much of a problem. But I think this deck staying with reindeer, like just with the reindeer like deck, I think is fine. I don't think Q-Tire was hurting anyone in the deck it's meant for. It's kind of awkward in other decks because it has like this weird stuff that it can randomly do. But I do think the card itself is fine. And I know people are getting mad at me about this, but in Highlander restrictively, it's fine as long as because other stuff is the problem. The problem isn't Q-Tire. People think the problem is Q-Tire. The problem is everything else. Like, people aren't understanding that the issue is like the other stuff. It's not Q-Tire. But whatever. I mean, Q-Tire got banned, but I'm gonna be real with you. Reindeer was the hit. If you wanted to nuke this deck, Reindeer was the hit. This deck will still perform exactly the way it will be performing without Q-Tire. I played at BSF. I won majority of my games, and yeah, I saw Q-Tire I think maybe 1 out of the 6 games that I won. Like, it really is a Q-Tire. The issue is the reindeer mechanic with the ride down, everything else. Now I will say, with History Collection coming up, this might change. People don't really want to play a deck that rides down when they're looking at strides, right? So of course that will probably change under assumptions they go first. But this deck will perform currently right now until we get History Collection pretty much the exact same way. This changes literally nothing. They actually have now an extra slot to run another target for Reindeer if they really want to, because to be honest, if you see this card in your top 10, it's doing absolutely nothing. If you see it too late, it's not really doing too much. If you open up this along with too many other cards, you don't really have shield, yada yada yada. I will tell you right now, this was not the hit. The only thing this does well is it lets you find the Pro Sisters pretty quickly. That is the biggest and best thing about this card. Everything else is very whatever. The deck's still gonna be the deck. People could still take this and top with it. I'm gonna be real with you. It does make the deck slightly more high rolly, but it's already a high roll deck, but the slightness is like pretty small because you know, as you're playing the game, you're not really trying to find Q-Tire. You're kind of trying to find like everything else that makes the deck work as fast as possible while extending cards back and making sure your engine's still going. There's so much you have to think about before you think about Q-Tire, to be honest with you. So yeah, well, whatever. We'll see how it works. I might be talking my ass, you know, maybe from here on out we're not gonna see a single result. I really doubt it, but alas. So going on to Katrina. Katrina got unrestricted. A lot of people are pretty unhappy about this as well. I tested a little bit, not too much, just a little like testing here and there against some of my friends who either play the deck or have played the deck, and they just kind of showed me like kind of what it does. It didn't feel that terrible. I don't know. Again, I wasn't around during the meta where this card was like super crazy, And currently I'm not a Neonectar main either. I know it's I know I keep saying this, but I only play a Grand Blue at premium. I really only play that, and I recently dipped my toe into Bermuda competitive, not casual. Casual, I've been playing Bermuda for a while, but I've been playing stuff like Pacifica and Coral, which are not very strong decks. They're like tier 4 decks, and I've even been taking them to like my locals and stuff like that. And guess what? I go like X4, like 04, like just to be precise, I go like 04. If we used to have like premium events, and if I ever wanted to play casually, I would just bring Pacifica or Coral or something stupid that I created, and I'm just going 04. Like, it's not that great. I've never taken Bermuda too seriously at premium, right? But I did recently, so I can't really say that anymore. But anyway, long story short, I don't really know too much outside of the clans I play. I know how to play against decks. I just don't play the clans that tend to show up a lot at premium outside of Grand Blue, honestly. So anyway, so I don't know too much about Neonectar. I don't know what this, how powerful or not powerful this is. I will tell you from what I currently saw, if you're playing like something that has any form of denial Griffin, it's kind of whatever, though then the, you know, the Neonectar player can run like the resist cards to kind of help out with that. So it kind of just depends on how the build is. I think if you build with the resist cards in mind, it's a little bit harder to deal with it. But as a Grand Blue player, I actually had no problems fighting Katrina. It actually felt pretty fair. Like, it was a pretty even match. It didn't feel like one deck was stronger than the other. It was just kind of a match. I got strode on, I survived, and it was just a big happy time. Like, it really wasn't a big deal. Now, maybe there's some kind of secret sauce list with some of the vanilla stuff that people are trying to run, but I will say that requires counterblasts. Like, your opponent has to give you a damage in order to superior ride, so I actually don't know how impactful that'll be either. So I don't really know. I'm just gonna sit here and go, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens, because in all actuality, that's really all I have. We have History Collection coming out like in a couple, some amount of months. I don't remember the exact date, but you know, it's coming in this year, right? So we're gonna have a meta shift anyway, and maybe the Katrina hit will be maybe with the Katrina unrestricted won't do anything. Maybe it'll do a lot. Maybe they're unrestricted, so that way there's another deck in the pool of decks to kind of deal with the History Collection. I don't hate this ban list. I don't love it. I kind of expected it to be like this. Nothing on here surprised me. It's not crazy. It's not like a revolutionary ban list, and nothing insane, but it did like target some cards. It did do some stuff, so we'll see. But anyway, leave me your thoughts below. I'm sure there's a lot of unhappy people, and maybe some happy people, maybe some between people. I don't know. Leave me your thoughts below. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you guys liked my insight on whatever it is that I have. I will say I just kind of sat here and just talked. So about my feelings about the ban list. That's kind of just what I do. I just talk about my feelings. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're ready for Houston, because Houston is gonna have this ban list active. So we'll have to see what the results are gonna look like. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun seeing that. I'll be there. So check me out at Houston and all that kind of fun stuff. Peace out. До свидания. I'll see you guys in a future video. Bye.